if you were and you coach some of the top teams across the country, so if you were advising just an individual newly licensed agent that just got licensed as this kind of happened or right now while this is going on, would you encourage them to go with a hot, fast growing brokerage like EXP, or would you still encourage them to really do their homework, do their research on the teams locally that are that have, market share, that are doing training, doing some of these marketing offerings for their agents? Or would you talk to them about going individual? What would you advise to a brand newly licensed agent in this current market climate?
Yeah, for sure to do their research. I think every market's a little different. But let me share a little bit of a story that it's often skipped over. So when I transitioned from agricultural real estate sales to residential, I always tell the story how I went and interviewed to one company and that's where I went. And that's true. But I spent about 2 months on my own. And I learned quickly that I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I know how to sell land, but I didn't know how to do anything in residential. Contracts were different. The systems, the processes weren't in place. And so I spent 2 months having my own company and going, okay, that was a mistake. I better go interview. And so then I went and interviewed and went to work for a residential real estate company, and then learned how to do residential real estate. So if I'm an independent agent, just getting their license, I would struggle with EXP a little bit. My sensors went off. Did you see the lighting change?
Yeah.
I would struggle with going just to EXP. Matter of fact, there's an agent in my office that from last week who said, hey, I went independent. I'm a newly licensed agent. I went to EXP and I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to sell locally. Like, the training's there, but how do I actually do it?
Well,
And so
unless you're with a team on EXP that has an office. I know right now we're not in offices, but in normal times, where would you go outside of the virtual training webinars? You can get a lot. I mean, listen, TF gives a lot of his stuff away for free. If you were a new agent and you soaked up enough of TF's YouTube channel, you could learn a lot. But are you really being disciplined and held accountable
no,
to actually do that?
you wouldn't be. You wouldn't be. So obviously do the research, but I think the best step for any brand new agent is to go to work for a team, right? Wherever, but a team, and learn and soak up everything you can, and then decide whether or not staying with the team is something that really works for you, or if maybe making your own team someday, that's fine. But the one thing that people don't talk about with teams often that's really important is the team leader, right? Like, that team leader, the systems and processes that he or she has put in place are based upon what has worked for them, right? And then what's working in the marketplace today. They're spending money and they're spending time researching and developing these systems and processes. So a brand new team member gets to enjoy that, right? And they get to learn from the best and surround themselves with other people who are trying to learn from the best. Like, it's that dynamic that, again, it's hard to get on Zoom. It's why, I give you some props for your team, right? Like, you guys are one of the hardest working teams in the industry. Like, I know,
Hashtag hardest working team. Thanks to you. You gave us that tagline a couple of years ago. Now it's our mission statement.
and it's really true though. I don't know another team in the industry that works as hard as yours, but you guys are working together, right? You guys have training, right? You've got role play, you've got
Every
ability to
day.
every day, not just like, oh, in the beginning when you're first launching your career. It's like Jordan, the documentary, by the way, if anybody
Oh,
hasn't
it's
watched it,
insane. It's
so
insane.
good. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's like you're a team of Jordans, right? You're going up there and you're warming up every day. You're putting in the work every day before the game, right? And then you're showing up with absolutely no belief that failure exists. right? Like we go in there and we get the listing. Why? Because we worked the hardest and deserve it the most.
Is it not? It blows my mind how a great team like the Bulls has their approach was so individual to each team member. Okay. They really understood how each person ticked. And I don't know if you last night
I
saw
didn't watch last night's.
episode 3 and 4 of this documentary last night. I think it's gonna be 5 weeks times 2. So 10 different episodes as part of this documentary. But they let Dennis Rodman in the middle of that 98 season, that 6th season, they let him go and have a vacation, as he called it. He wanted to go to Vegas. Scottie Pippen had been out for so long, and he just had to get some shit out of his system, right? That he just had to get out and get away from everything. So Phil said to Michael, he's like, we got to let Dennis go. Michael's like, we're never going to get him back. He's never coming back, And he went to Vegas. They said, we'll give you 48 hours. It was like over 80 hours before he came back. But they knew for Dennis Rodman, giving him this time to go let it all out, whatever he had to do in Vegas, which was a lot of drinking. There were some clips of that. Carmen Electra, who's dating Carmen Electra at the time. They knew that was going to be beneficial to him being a part of the team for the remainder of the year and getting through a long playoff and championship run, right? And they just catered to everybody individually, despite the fact that Jordan was this extreme driver, a driver that the NBA has never seen since him and probably will never see. I mean, the guy was relentless in the way he would, inspire. I use inspire, but push and drive everybody around him to get the greatness out of them for the team, right? I mean, Jordan agreed when Phil Jackson came on to go from having the ball in his hands the majority of the time to not having it in that triangle offense. And people just see Jordan as this guy that just took over games. He was a team guy. That was a ridiculous team effort, those Bulls teams.
Do you see him differently today? Now that you've seen far the documentary? I know that they were concerned that people would look upon Jordan differently.
Not me, because Jordan was somebody I followed, and I've got his autograph hanging in my home office on the wall, and I'm a huge Jordan apologist. People like, oh, I hear he's an asshole and this, and I'm a huge Jordan apologist. The guy, I don't see him differently at all. You know what I actually see is somebody who I thought pushed teammates away, who was, when you hear the teammates talk about him, yes, they say he was a driver. He was insane, but they respected him because he was working harder than anybody on those teams. And Horace Grant said, it's like, man, if you weren't showing up every day and putting in your full effort after he was doing what he was doing, you just might as well stay home.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about
fired up just talking about it.